Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning. Let me just take a moment here. Alright. We've got quite a few topics to go through. The most, I guess, prescient one that's out there on the news is obviously what's happening in Miami Surfside, so we actually have a couple of documents here that we want to go over, and a engineer or contractor, I guess I should say, kind of reviewing those documents. So let's... Hey Darknet, how's it going? Music is pretty loud. Okay, we're stopping that here. Turn it down. Okay, perfect. So last week, was it last week? We had a devastating building collapse, and as more and more information starts to come out, it seems like a lot of gross incompetence went around. We're still not really sure. We're still not really sure where the incompetence happened or who let it happen, but I'm sure that once this investigation is concluded, as Memo says, I suspect somebody's going to jail, or somebody should go to jail, I should say. Yes, that report is from 2018. Yes, yeah, it's pretty damning. This is very, very sad. I believe that as far as we know, like confirmed, identified, we are at 11, but unfortunately, to be quite honest, it's most likely going to be over 100. Just an overall tragedy. It's probably going to be over 100. It is a nightmare. It's unfortunate. And all for gross incompetence. Trying to, and this is like a notorious. This is notorious, like in South Florida, Miami kind of thing, where, you know, a lot of these construction projects and stuff like that have cut corners by paying contractors under the table, or trying to skirt certain things by just paying people off, paying the inspectors, or just not doing the right inspections, and just kind of like, you know, moving on. Unfortunately, that can cause loss of life. Someone somewhere messed up. I'm not sure if it's the commission, the city council that allowed this to happen. I'm not sure if it was the actual owners who knew about this and just let it go. I'm not sure if it was somebody who was doing the work and didn't and wasn't, you know, telling the truth about the reality of the situation, so decisions were made without the information. I really don't know who's to blame here, but certainly someone somewhere is going to jail. I mean, here we have an entire report from 2018 indicating that they knew about some serious damages, right? So let's take a look. We had an entire 9-page report, right? An entire 9-page report where you can see the different problems, right? And the more you scroll through it, which I can put that here, the more you realize just how like bad this building was, just how in poor condition this building was, and how compromised the structure is. All of this Hey Bread Crochet, how's it going? Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if like this one is on the landlords. I suppose like we'd have to see like who made the decision or who failed to make the decision, I should say. The condition of the parking levels was reviewed, specifically noting any cracked or spalled concrete members, conditions of the concrete slabs, and joint sealant conditions. MC was able to identify the presence of previous epoxy injections and patch repairs, which were evaluated for their long-term effectiveness. MC's review of the parking garage revealed signs of distress and fatigue as described below. Yeah, the very I mean, you could see there's like rebar showing on this. There's rebar showing. It's possible. It's possible, Darknet. It's not the first time nor the last time that type of stuff happens here. Where, well, in this case, it would be like the building owners, right? Do things under the table. It wouldn't be the first time nor the last. I've seen this happen so many times. So it's quite possible. The problem is who signed off on this, or who knew about this and didn't appropriately address this. I mean, like, you could see like the deterioration. That's rust. And this is the final like notice at the bottom, right? MC trusts this initial report will assist the Champlain Towers South Condominium in understanding the required maintenance that is needed to properly maintain this existing residential property. MC is available to further discuss the recommended repair work and how it coincides with the owner's desires and constraints. Like, wait. We look forward to working with you in maintaining the structural integrity of the Champlain South condominium. Yikes. Yeah, I mean, like, look, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. Our first apartment, I don't know if you guys, well, some of you may have been there when this happened. Because I was streaming back then? Was I? Maybe. There was a point in time. No, I think this was before because like this is the new No, I was streaming back then. Yes. There was maybe not as often, maybe not as like centralized, like I have all my ducks in a row like I do here. But there was a time where I streamed back then in our first apartment. And there was a massive leak on the top floor, right? That ended up essentially making it rain inside our apartment. I mean, like, unironically, it started just raining inside our apartment. And we were incredibly lucky that it hit absolutely none of our stuff. And I mean, the only damage that we have to show for it is like one of the legs of our table kind of like expanded because it's wood. It's like that IKEA, that cheap IKEA wood. No offense. I mean, it's a nice table. I like it. But the bottom of the bottom of the leg is like expanded and kind of cracked a little bit. But other than that, like by I don't know, the forces of the universe. By the forces of the universe, none of our stuff got damaged. None of my equipment in the studio, that was like, because it was a 1-bedroom, like I had part of the living room as part of the studio. Nothing, not a single drop of water fell on any of that. Nothing in the kitchen. Nothing in the bedroom. Not a single drop of water in the bedroom. Not one. So we were incredibly lucky. But the TLDR of this story is that the guy, the property manager, or I think it was the property manager, was trying to say that there was minimal water damage and they were not going to do repairs on the walls or anything like that. They're like, why? It's just some water damage. Like, the moment we heard that, we're like, so anyways, we're moving out. Yeah, no. There was literally mold. There was literally mold, and they were trying to say that it was just some minor water damage. Meanwhile, the actual professionals were saying, yeah, this whole wall, all of these walls and stuff need to come down and need to be replaced. All of this, like, sheetrock and stuff, nah, that needs to be replaced. There's mold over here, here, and here. You could smell it. I mean, you could literally smell it. It was so bad. If you can smell the mold, that's bad, alright? If you can smell the mold, that's bad. And the guy was trying to play it off as minor water damage. Bro, it was raining in the apartment. I'm offended on behalf of IKEA. Listen, IKEA's good, alright? It's cheap. That's what I have my desk on. Alright, this is an IKEA desk. The panels. How could they be upset if you're trying to grow penicillin in your apartment? True. True, I didn't think about that. How ungrateful. That's right, I forgot. My bad. My bad. Maybe I should have understood what they were trying to get at. You're upset they're growing penicillin in your apartment. That's right. And MC is Morabito Consultants, who did this, I guess, like, evaluation. I mean, they were very, like, the problem with this is that they weren't stressing the importance of it. I mean, they mentioned, like, hey, you know, we look forward to working with you and maintain the structural integrity of Champlain Tower South Condominium. Like, they kind of, like, give the hint there, like, hey, bro, should probably do something. But unfortunately, if you look through the PDF, the language of this is not as alarming as it should have been. I mean, it's so sad because, like, it's guaranteed that whoever was there is most likely dead. Yeah, this is alarming for engineer speak. The problem is when you present this to the board, they're not engineers. To them, it's like, oh, well, you know, whatever, we'll take care of it. Maybe they're used to seeing worse. Yeah, the thing is, like, they... I have a feeling that they just were assuming They were just assuming that people who read this would kind of be like, oh yeah, we should fix this. But that's assuming they understood what they are seeing. You're a generous person. I assume they understood and went the route where they made more money because land go up. I mean, it's quite possible. Absolutely. Seems kind of like the condo association didn't actually want to fix stuff. Not uncommon. Again, true. There's probably so many buildings that are the same. So far, they're going to do... I imagine that because of this, they're going to do a massive, like, you know, crackdown, I imagine. Here we have, like, instead of, like, listening to this rando on the internet... let's listen to this other rando on the internet, except this guy is actually qualified.
To thank you guys for all of the positive comments. Thanks for the subscriptions to our channel, and really big thanks to a bunch of you who sent us links to the documents and the plans and the permits and stuff that we needed. I haven't had a chance to really go through the permits necessarily over the course of the history of the building, but definitely
Dan Simpson.
Some of the recent documents.
Hold on. Dan Simpson, how's it going? Love your face, buddy. How's it going? In school, my roommate showed me a picture of state of disrepair in bridges. No thank you. Yikes. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Howdy, howdy.
First thing I wanted to talk about in this video is a correction from the last video. Now that I have the plans, the original 1979 construction drawings for the building, and I've received the plans that the engineer who was overseeing the restoration, which I'll get into in 2021, the plans that they prepared in 2020. After I reviewed all that, I kind of took a double look, because all those plans indicate that the building actually does have a plate slab construction, like I said before, but that it uses a double mat of conventional reinforcement, rebar, instead of post-tension cables. So even though the original the original photos I looked at indicated that there would be post-tension cables, I went back and looked at those photos, and I found an additional photo, which I will share with you guys real quick here. This is another photo I found, and in this photo you can actually see where the bottom reinforcement has been ripped out of the slab, if you can see my cursor. But in this particular photo, you can actually see that a lot of the rebar remained in this particular part of the building, as opposed to the other photos that I had available to me before. And in this case, you can see where that rebar is.
No, this is not a Moravito person. This is another... It's another consulting firm. A guy from another... Essentially from another Moravito type business.
It's sticking out like at an angle. And you can see that over here, these two pieces of rebar are very...
I think he actually mentions it towards the end where he's from. I forget the company.
Very angled. Now, if this was a post-tension slab and the cables had ripped out of the bottom of the slab, which would have generally looked the same, the damage, but if these were cable sleeves, they would be hanging straight down due to gravity. But because they're bent and holding their position at a sideways angle, this photo seems to reinforce the 1979 construction drawings and the 2020 engineering work that was done by the other engineering firm. So I just wanted to get that correction out of the way. It doesn't really change any of the observations I made in the previous video about the observed damage to the facade of the building, the photo analysis that we did of the Google Photos, and generally the condition of the poor condition of the building in 2021 when those photos were taken by the Google car. All right, so as I discussed in the last video, I said I was going to do like a plan and permit review. I didn't get to review the permits, but I did review the plans and I did review some other documents, which we're going to review together. But before we jump into those, I just wanted to quickly go through the chronology of those documents that I've looked at so far. In 2018, and by the way, there's no doxing going on or any of this. This is all public information that the town of Surfside themselves have put out there for the public, for the consumption of the public. So you guys can all go find this data yourselves. You can find out the name of the engineering firm. So I'm not placing any blame or anything. I'm just using the names that are appropriate given who prepared which report. So in 2018, the association hired Morabito Consultants to conduct their 40-year recertification study, and they produced a structural survey report, which we'll look at together a little bit, and they also produced forms that they had to fill out for the town of Surfside in 2018 as well.
Right, which is this, by the way. What the report is
then
this.
In 2020, Morabito Consultants was retained by the association to essentially bid out the restoration of the building. Now, This is not like getting your kitchen remodeled or your driveway redone. In Florida in 2020, if you were an engineering firm and you were hired to bid out and specify and design a restoration job for a building, there's no way you're going to get that job done by a contractor in 2020. Just the workload is too pushed back. Things are too busy to do a traditional, conventional restoration project. So what they would have done was they would have designed it in 2020 and bid it out, and then the work would have began in 2021, which is what looks like happened. In 2021, the restoration work began, but it began with the roof, and I don't really know why at this time, why the restoration work started with the roof.
Okay, so point number one. Can somebody seriously, he's a professional. He's like already like, coming in his head, he's like, wait, why would they start with the roof if like the 2018 report was like very adamant about those structures, the integrity of the garage and like some of the bottom structures? Why would you start at the roof? So he brings up that very good point. Because elevators are expensive, many places wait till it needs to be replaced. Yes.
But while the roof repair, and we don't know exactly what was going on with the roof, only that repairs were being done. But while those repairs were in progress, that was when the building had collapsed. And the only comment I'll really make about starting with the roof is that this is normally the opposite procedure for restoring a building, and I'll tell you why. Because if you have an old roof and the roof isn't really leaking or anything, you don't want to replace the roof with a brand new membrane, brand new surface, and then put a bunch of rigging equipment on the roof in order to rig the building. So what you're going to do typically is you are going to you're going to go ahead and just throw some plywood on the roof in order to put your rigging equipment on there. You're going to structurally restore the whole building, and then you would do the roof second after you do the restoration. So I'm not really sure why they started with the roof. There must have been some sort of specific reason, but at this point, it would just be speculation for me to try to speculate on that. Okay, so let's go in and look at some of the PDF documents we've got here. All right, so going back to the PT comment that this building is not a post-tension building, as far as we can tell now, now that we have more data and more information. And by the way, that's good news, because that means the building that is remaining,
this isn't the combo couch.
Still standing.
No. Hi, howdy. Morning. Hope you grabbed your coffee. Hope you grabbed your coffee and your or your favorite beverage.
Is actually a bit more structurally sound than I originally thought it was. So that's good news. This is the 1979 construction drawing, one of them, and this is the typical floor framing plan, okay? And in this plan, you can see none of this needs to necessarily make sense to you, but these little rectangles here, these are columns, okay? And these notations...
Yeah, I don't think anybody is like really disputing the structure, like the way it was built was bad. The problem here is that there was multiple alarm bells that were happening years in advance, and nobody did anything or looked at it and brushed it off or paid somebody under the table. I mean, something here, somebody definitely did something wrong or ignored these issues here. We're going over the Miami building. Anyway, back to work. Yes, we are. Have a good shift, Surfer Gogurty.
Number five.
And hang in there. Don't worry. I don't know if you have Monday off for July 4th, but don't worry. If you do, long weekend is coming up. If not, we're Tuesday, all right? We're one day closer to Friday. Just think of it that way.
Is the size of the rebar. So this is obviously not post-tension cable. It's talking about a conventional rebar. Here it talks about that you're to locate 14 number 4 rebars in this area, 12 number 4 rebars over here. So I just wanted to show you this to show you that the 1979 plans don't mention and don't talk about post-tension cables. They just show conventional reinforcement.
Your favorite beverage? It's hot outside. Is
if
not.
you look at the construction drawings
this
put
is
together
not the weather
by
report.
Morabito, this is like their typical. This is put together in 2021. It looks like finally dated in 2021. This is part of the permit set that was in progress. And you can see that all the details, I mean, again, you don't necessarily need to know how to read these and understand them, but again, it shows all conventional reinforcement. These little dots that you see here, that's basically just conventional rebar. That's how you would show conventional rebar. And then the solid line above it is a piece of rebar going the opposite direction from the little dot. The little dot's kind of coming in and out of the screen, and then the line above it is going parallel to the screen. So it's showing that this is just existing reinforcement mat. One of the things I do want to comment on, because if you remember from my first video, and I repeated it in the second video, I said look for columns. Columns are an issue. I did think it was interesting. This detail allowed the contractor to go ahead and excavate. You can visibly see this is like a sample excavation area. It allows the contractor to excavate into what we call the core of the column. The core of the column is contained within the rebar mat, okay? And that's very odd and unconventional to allow that. But at this point, we don't know that the contractor was actually doing any work to columns. So I can't say that they were doing this and that's what caused the building collapse. I'm not making that assertion at all. I'm just simply saying that this is a very interesting and odd detail to me. In our details, we do not allow anybody to go into the core of the concrete column without getting our permission on every single location and having the appropriate shoring plans put in place and stuff like that. So the engineering firm Morbido Consultants put out a statement on their website, and I'm just going to kind of go over some of the highlighted points here. And they state, which I've already said, in 2018, Champlain Towers South Condominium Association wanted to do their 40-year recertification of the condo building as required by the Miami-Dade County and the town of Surfside. Their report detailed, so they're saying in this is their statement that they press released just today, it looks like. It says, our report detailed significant cracks and breaks in the concrete, which required repairs to ensure the safety of the residents and the public. So they're talking about their 2018 report, okay? The association engaged their firm again in 2020, so that's how we knew that they were hired. And then at the time of the building collapse, roof repairs were underway, so we kind of talked about that. That was a little odd that they're doing the roof first and not last, but again, they may have reasons for that. But they're stating that concrete restoration had not begun, so that's why I didn't want you to get too hung up on this column detail that I thought was a little funny and odd, because they're claiming that none of that work had started anyway, so that's not that big of a deal, or it may not be that big of a deal. Though I did highlight this little note, which I thought was interesting. You know, it says we do not provide construction-related services such as building repair and restoration contracting. So they are not the contractor that actually does the jackhammering and the concrete mixing and stuff like that. And that's just like our firm, Consult Engineering. We would only provide the consulting services, the oversight services. But this statement's a little bit of a CYA, if you will, because they're kind of trying to deflect a responsibility. But the reality is that the way the state of Florida looks at it and the Florida Board of Professional Engineers looks at it is that if you're the engineer of record and you're on site and you're overseeing the work, you carry a responsibility.
Yeah, like, wait. Wait. Yeah, you can't just, like, deflect, like, responsibility that way. So it may just be, again, this has to be investigated, but someone somewhere, someone somewhere is definitely responsible for this.
Whether you're the contractor doing the actual physical work, or if you're just the guy with the hard hat watching the work, if you're the engineering firm on site and you're the engineer of record, you're going to carry some sort of liability. So I just wanted to point that out to you. And I want to be very clear, I'm not placing any blame at this point on Morbido Consultants. We don't have enough information to know. And we also only have limited documents. We only have the reports they generated. We don't have the conversations that they had with the client. And you'll see why that's important later. We don't have letters that they've sent to the client. None of that stuff, as far as I know, has been subpoenaed by anybody. Not that it would become public record anyway. If it were, it would be part of some sort of suit if it was. So this is their 2018 actual report that they did. Here is their discussion of the pool deck and entrance
Right, but the
drive.
building was last standing when they saw it.
They say that the failed waterproofing, they're talking about the waterproofing at the pool deck area. The failed waterproofing is causing major structural damage to the concrete structural slab below these areas. Failure to replace the waterproofing in the near future will cause the extent of the concrete deterioration to expand exponentially. That is true. That is a term that we use as well, that if untreated concrete damage, such as concrete cracking and concrete spalling, will expand exponentially. I mean, that is literally the term, the industry standard term that we use to warn people of the serious potential of not getting it fixed in a timely fashion. And remember, this report was generated and given to the client circa October 8th, 2018.
2018.
They go on to state that abundant cracking and spalling of varying degrees was observed in the concrete columns, beams, and walls. Again, we're still talking in the parking garage level area. Several sizable spalls were noted in both the top side of the entrance drive ramp and underside of the pool entrance drive planter slabs, which included instances with exposed deteriorating rebar. And the reason why I highlighted this is because, again, they're talking about the columns as one of the things, and I'll show you they have pictures in this report as well. And in the column, and I told you from day one, be looking for columns, because columns are the things that can fail catastrophically. They're the things that can create a domino effect, and they're the things that ultimately can result in pancaking problems in the case of a collapse. So they say, though some of this damage is minor, most of the concrete deterioration needs to be repaired in a timely fashion. This is a phrase that I
In a
have seen
timely
engineers
fashion.
use, and it bothers me because if you know, timely fashion can be interpreted completely different by completely different people. The engineer writing this report may have felt that timely fashion means, hey, you need to get on this in the next 6 months. Whereas the board member or the board of directors for the association reading this report may have taken timely fashion to mean that within the next 5 years we need to deal with it. So I'm not a fan of these types of terms. We try to use terms like immediately, or within 1 to 3 years, or within 5 years, depending on the severity of the issue. All cracking and spalling located in the parking garage shall be repaired in accordance with the recommendations of ICRI. ICRI is short for the International Concrete Repair Institute, which has
Do you get much ice in Florida?
and,
No.
details for repairing concrete.
Salt
reinforced
absorbs
concrete
water?
structures.
No.
This phrase is repeated several times in this report. Repaired in accordance with the recommendations of ICRI, which I'm not a big fan of, because it assumes that the reader knows what the recommendations of ICRI are. Well, I'm telling you right now, if a board of directors knew what ICRI was and what those recommendations were, why would they need you? They would basically be engineers themselves. So it's sort of like, you know, a weird catch-all phrase.
Yes, but
I
not,
think it's more appropriate to just go ahead and tell
not in
the
this, like,
client
for this
what it is
purposes.
that you're actually recommending be done. All right, so here's some pictures they took. I'm going to kind of zoom in on these. Here you can see a chunk of the corner of the concrete column inside the parking garage is missing. We know it's in the parking garage because they say it, and we also know it because it's painted yellow, which is you know, which is to help people driving in the parking garage to avoid it. Here we can see, I'm going to try to zoom in more so that hopefully the picture's a little better. Here we can see a pretty severe concrete spalling on the surface of the parking garage. I mean, that's extraordinarily, you know, pretty severe. I mean, I rarely see this. I've seen this many times, but it's pretty rare to see it in a building that has let it get this bad, I should say. So that's an interesting observation. These are pretty severe concrete surface spalls. Here's their comments on it. MC, which is, you know, short for Morabito Consultants. MC visual observations revealed that many of the previous
That's
garage
right, thinking
concrete repairs
Sabercat.
are failing, resulting in additional concrete cracking, spalling, and leaching of calcium carbonate deposits. Calcium carbonate is it's that white powdery substance that we call efflorescence, and it's just proof that water is passing through your structure. At the underside, and I can explain the chemistry behind that, but that's for another video. At the underside of the entrance pool deck where the slab had been epoxy injected, new cracks were radiating from the originally repaired cracks. Yeah, of course. So here's a couple things that they point out, which is very true and which is very problematic in our industry. So they say that they found previous concrete garage concrete repairs that were failing. Well, that's because a lot of engineers and contractors don't know what they're doing, and they do a half effort or completely incorrect job of repairing the structure. And then the problem this creates is that the damage is still occurring under their patches, but the building will generally look pretty good. And so this creates a problem for the client because they say, oh, well, we just paid to have the building restored. It looks good, but meanwhile, it's just pure cancer underneath all of these new patches and things.
That's right. And like, again, this is, I don't know if this happens everywhere, but like, this is a notorious common occurrence here in South Florida. People like to pay people under the table. People like to, you know, just cut corners.
So MC observed that a lot of these patches, the concrete was failing underneath the patches. The other thing too is I see epoxy injection of cracks totally abused in this industry, where they use it to try to stop water intrusion from the plaza deck down into the parking garage below. But epoxy injecting cracks is really like a structural repair, and it only has certain circumstances in which it's useful. When you see this phrase, new cracks were radiating from the originally repaired cracks, it's like, well, no duh. So what happens is the original cracks before they got epoxy injected were caused by thermal expansion and contraction. Well, then when you epoxy inject them, the concrete still needs to shrink and expand, but now you've sealed up that relief point that it had, and so what it will do is it will crack right next to it, and it will create a new relief point. So it looks like it's basically radiating from there. Here's some photos of the ceiling. Here is the epoxy injected cracks, and they've left the ports in there, and they didn't clean, you know, whoever that contractor was didn't clean it up and didn't finish it. This is work prior to 2018. Because remember, this report was done in 2018, and it's commenting on that. Here you can see rust coming through cracks in the garage ceiling, and you can see these lines. These are essentially stalactites, okay, which is a formation of calcium carbonate coming down from the ceiling. So it takes a lot of water to create 6-inch long and 3-inch long and 2-inch long stalactites. You can also see the stalactites on these photos over here on the left.
Even tarmac can be a cheap alternative. True.
On the ceiling of the garage, of the parking garage. So that's essentially the bulk of their report. There's lots of commentary in there. One of the things I didn't really find in the report was a statement stating
a lot of water over a lot of time.
The severity of the life safety concern. That's something that we always put in all of our reports. We put it in writing, but that's not to say that Morabito didn't come in after the letter, the severity of the life safety concern. That's something over here on the left, and then you can see more.
This is
stuff on the
important right
ceiling
here.
of the garage, of the parking garage. So that's essentially the bulk of their report. There's lots of commentary in there. One of the things I didn't really find in the report was a statement stating the severity of the life safety concern. That's something that we always put in all of our reports. We put it.
The severity of the life safety concern. In other words, hey, if you don't fix this, and this comes down, people could die. Yes, stalactites. Red crochet. A lot of water over a lot of time will create this. My big question is how much of this was hurricane damage? I have no idea. Probably, it's possible that that's where we get all of this saltwater intrusion.
In writing, but that's not to say that Morbido didn't come in after the fact and send some sort of letter or a certified letter or had a communication, because sometimes engineers think, okay, well, we're about to restore the building anyway, so I'm not going to tell them it's like this giant life safety thing because we're going to get the building fixed next year anyway. And then the client never calls you back, the board of directors. And so then what you would need to do is you would need to send a certified letter saying, hey, listen, we failed to tell you in our report how serious this is. This is super serious. You need to take care of it right away. So Morbido may have done that, and they may have done their due diligence on that. But
yeah, which I'm sure that as this gets investigated, like someone somewhere is, they're gonna have to like reveal these documents in court cases. I'm sure. It seems like the heating and cooling was the main issue, though. This guy will get into that.
Looking at their photos and reading the language in their report, this was a building that was severely damaged. Most buildings that I restore, and I think I've said this in the second video, don't look this bad when I finally get there. Sometimes they do, but rarely. Okay, and then here is the form that they had to fill out for the town of Surfside. And I just wanted to note two interesting things that the same engineer who did the other report filled out this form for the town. And under the concrete framing system, which is essentially talking about the main skeleton and main structural members of the building, it says general condition description, and this is the only description given. Overall, the concrete framing is in good condition, with the aforementioned items requiring attention. He mentions various concrete spalls and stuff that need fixed. But this statement, overall concrete framing is in good condition, this is going to end up being problematic for them, given now that the building has collapsed 3 years later.
Wait, I didn't catch this the first time. What?
But there is going to be a defensible argument from Morbido saying, well, yeah, it was in good condition in 2018, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was in good condition in 2021, right?
Right,
So
wait, somebody made a comment up here somewhere. Let me see. Yeah, but the building was still standing when they saw it. Right, like, what? Good condition, my butt. True.
You're going to have some defense there. And then, of course, where it talks about rebar corrosion, check the appropriate line. And again, this is a preformed fill-out form, I'm assuming, from the town of Surfside. But they went ahead and checked significant, but patching will suffice. The problem I have with this isn't that it's technically incorrect. The problem I have with it is that the way the layperson reads this. If you're a board of directors member, okay, and you just got this report with all these pictures and all this stuff, and you didn't understand anything, and you don't understand what I cry means, and then you also get a copy of this report at the same time, and it says overall the concrete framing is in good condition, and patching will suffice, you are all of a sudden left with a very de-escalated or de-elevated level of concern.
Right,
and
like, I'm not a structural engineer or any of that. I would probably take this to mean that you know what? Maybe this could like not be such a big deal, and not take the urgency of the situation seriously, right? I would move the heck out of that city. Actually, a factor most people don't take into account is structure shape can cause air pressures changes that weaken the entire frame of the structure. That is also true, but I'm not not convinced that this is what happened here. In this situation, so maybe the board of directors shouldn't be lay people. Yes, but at the same time, I think that the board of directors are just the people that make up the association, right? But like regardless, like I don't know. I think it's like it's on the professionals to be responsible in the way that they present data, right? It's up to the professionals to be responsible in the way they present data, much like it is the responsibility of, like, for example, Dr. Fauci, right? For example, Dr. Fauci. It is his responsibility to make sure that the way he conveys data, or the way he conveys and speaks to the public, is in a responsible manner, right? Because, like, not everybody is an infectious disease expert. Neither is the president. So, you know, neither is the people making these decisions. So, I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like it's the responsibility of the people who know what they're doing, who these engineers or these contractors or whoever it is that they, you know what they're doing, to correctly and accurately and responsibly convey this data or these findings or these research, right? They told me how much it would cost to bring my building up to code, and I cried.
And you may be motivated to say, well, let's just kick this down the road another year or two until things become in bad condition, right? And then, of course, that creates the problems. In this report, though, they included some additional...
Yes, a condo association is a volunteer group of people who live in the building, and I think that they also have to be owners, I believe. If there's no engineer in the building who wants to serve on that board, then you're out of luck. Yeah, and again, like, I think it still is on the onus is on the professionals, right? Because, like, how are you supposed to? Is ever, like, I don't know if you can realistically have an engineer in every single condo association or every single building. You don't know that. So I don't know. I think that, like, it's really up to the professionals, right? Like, that's why they're there. That's why they're called professionals, because we expect or we assume that they're going to accurately convey this data to people. To people. Like, in my analogy is Dr. Fauci, right? My analogy is Dr. Fauci. Just pure and simple. Like, if Dr. Fauci is the nation's head of infectious disease, it is his responsibility to make sure that he conveys this information accurately. Right? So it's the same idea.
Photos that they didn't include in the other one, so I thought it would be good for us to look at those. Here is some more concrete cracking in the ceiling of the parking garage underneath the building, and the rust that's coming through, the stalactites that are forming. I'm sorry, the resolution isn't very good. This is as good as I got. Here you've got another pretty severe crack with spalling, so that's kind of an interesting observation there.
I think we don't have that one
here. I think what we're seeing is that there's so much water coming through here that the water's spreading along the ceiling and then leaving efflorescence in different shapes and lines and stuff. But again, that's a lot of water coming through this plaza deck. Here's another typical, as they mentioned in the report, typical column damage at the ground floor, and you can see exposed rebar in there. Here's some better pictures of that surface spalling in the parking garage. I mean, guys, that's if you're a layperson and you look at that and you're like, that doesn't look good. You're right, it doesn't look good. That's really severe spalling. This is bad stuff right here, and you can see some more of it. And everywhere there's spalling, you can see the rebar is rusted in this slab.
That's right, Thingy and Sabercat.
Okay, so here is closer to the ground floor. They have these soffit boxes, which are essentially like wood framed because the architect in 1979 thought it would be a great idea. I can't give you any other explanation other than that. So there's this wood framed soffit box. It does not have a weep screed, so any water that soaks into the stucco and soaks into this box cannot weep out of the box. That water sits on top of...
Right. Exactly. Hold on. Yes. So, like, basically the idea would have been... I mean, again, there's going to be an investigation about this, but the idea... ideally would have been, hey, there's some structural damage here, bro. If you don't do this, people could die. I don't know how else to explain this to you, but if you don't repair this, this could crumble. I think that the lack of the way that they framed it, I believe, may have been irresponsible. Again, we'll see what the investigation turns out, and we'll see what happens, but, like, that's exactly true. Many people don't, and yeah, the owners have to pay for the repairs, and many people don't want to. If you can get the professionals to explain the risk, usually they'll bite the bullet. Yes, so that is, again, the onus, exactly, exactly, the onus is on the actual people who know what they're doing to explain responsibly the severity of the situation or what's going on. The same thing that people have, the scientists have when it comes to relaying public health information. The same when it comes to engineers talking about the integrity of a building. The same thing goes for people who talk about the scientists who convey information relating to climate change. They are the ones who are supposed to, ideally, explain the severity of the situation, what their findings actually mean, and what to do. That's it. You're right.
Of the concrete, this concrete column right here, and will cause corrosion damage to the concrete column. You can see that damage kind of over here, where we have the rust and we have this concrete that's spalling off of the slab edge there, and then you can see this line here, this little bump out line. This may just be unbonded stucco, but I suspect this is probably a large concrete spall at the top of this column. And again, remember what I talked about before, we need to be thinking in terms of columns, compression members, if we're talking a sudden collapse issue like this. Here we see other issues with paint, cracking, and you can see a paint blister here with water that's retained in it. So this building at some point may have been painted with a water impermeable paint, which I think is a terrible idea, but it was really popular in the 90s and early 2000s, but it retains water. So anytime there's a crack, water gets in, but then water can't get out. So that water is held against your concrete, just damaging it.
Jesus.
Let's see. Okay, so here's looking up at one of the slabs. I think it might be a balcony slab. You can see that so much water is coming through this concrete that it's peeling the paint off the bottom. Okay, it's kind of a weird angle, but you're looking at the bottom side, and you can begin to see the rebar patterns in here. You can see these dark lines. This is rebar beginning to show through. Here you can see, which we couldn't see on the Google images, but you can see this line right here. This is like an entire slab edge spall. And I think if I recall correctly, in their 2018 report, they said that like 25% of all the slab edges were spalled and in need of repair. So that's pretty significant. And this is an example of what that looks like when that concrete falls off. You can see all the bottom mat rebar towards the slab edge, and it's all rusted, it's all expanding, and it blew the concrete off. And I mean, this takes a while, and this takes a lot of ignoring it and putting your head in the sand in order for a building to get to this point.
Yeah. Yeah. The question is, who did the ignoring? Who knew about this, and who refused to act, or did this company fail to accurately describe the issue? Did the board of directors fail to act accordingly? Did the city council, because I think there was also another report with the city council guy. We definitely need to do an investigation on this.
Here's a steel beam on the roof, and it's rusted. This is literally not a significant amount of rust that would concern me. So I'm not. It may look ugly, but steel. There's a lot of steel here, and it looks pretty good to me. So I'm not going to comment much more on that. This is the roof. It looks like it was a ballasted type roof, possibly. It's a little hard to tell. But again, the report of which this came from said that the roof was actually in really good condition, and the only concerns they had were some cracks at the parapets. So what I couldn't figure out is from 2018 with the.
So, if you heard earlier, they were starting on the roof repairs first. Why would they start repairs on a roof that seemed to be in good condition first? This more and more seems to me like a sad case of gross incompetence. But this building will be underwater in 10 years. Why bother fixing it? True. The
roof being in relatively good condition. The maintenance department in the report was also cited as saying that there was no known roof leaks.
No known roof leaks.
I find it odd that they would start their restoration project on the roof. I'm not sure. I think that's something we'll find out later, but I think it's something that will make sense later on, maybe when we get more information. As far as I've been getting a lot of information from a lot of you guys and a lot of people in my industry that have been watching my videos. One of the things I thought was really interesting was an article from the Associated Press that quoted a resident there who is an attorney. And this attorney was quoted in the article as saying, and I quote, "They were doing a new roof, and I think all day long the building was pounding and pounding and pounding. They've been doing it for over a month," he said. So I think one of the things to think about is that if they were doing heavy jackhammering on the roof and it was vibrating the building, this absolutely could have opened up other issues and other problems. We consider a building that was in the level of disrepair that this building was in. Because remember before I told you how when the steel rusts, it begins to expand. And when it begins to expand, it pushes the concrete off and it blows it out. Well, you got to imagine that before that concrete chunk blows off and falls off the building, that there is an internal pressure against that concrete. It only falls off once the pressure gets high enough and high enough. Well, you got to imagine that if the pressure is there, but now you add a vibrating factor. I have seen this on buildings that we've restored where you start jackhammering over here and the new concrete spalls show up over here that weren't even there the day you started. So if they were jackhammering and doing a lot of vibration, and if that person is correct, that was quoted as saying that it had been going on for a month, pounding and pounding and pounding, as he said, then it would have been really, it would have been very important to continually inspect the lower floors to make sure that they weren't essentially crumbling apart as the building was being vibrated by this work. Well, in any case, that's all I've got for now. So I've got a lot more documents to review and a lot more things that you guys have sent me. I won't be making a video on Sunday. I'll be releasing this one, though. You guys will be watching this on Sunday. But as soon as I have more information and I have anything that's actually useful or insightful for you guys, I'll share it with you. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, this guy did a pretty good breakdown. Again, don't listen to this bobblehead. Listen to a more qualified professional. If this was really a public-private partnership, it probably would have gotten this condition when private limited companies have to tighten their belts. They will cut maintenance. I'd say that this repair was due to how much it was being used. Due to how much it was being used in the last 18 months. I have no idea. It's quite possible. I would say that we should see who dropped the ball here, because I mean I still there's just no way that that nobody knew about this, right? I mean, we have like a preliminary survey report saying that there's serious issues here. So it's not like it was a secret, right? It's not like this thing just magically popped out of nowhere. I think somebody knew, somebody failed to act or acted under the table, and yeah, unfortunately. And the reality is, what we're going to end up looking at is probably 100 plus people dead. I mean, it could be just simple as that, thinking Sabercat, but I really don't know until more investigations happen. We don't know if this company ended up telling the board of directors in a separate document how severe or how serious it was. I don't know. Was it the board of directors who failed to act in a timely manner? But still, in 2020, that doesn't make any sense. This was out there in 2018. So they should have started repairs depending on the urgency. I don't know if this company sent another follow-up saying this is urgent. To be honest, I don't know. The TLDR is that it looks like gross incompetence. That's what it feels like. In who is to blame officially, I don't know. But certainly whatever ends up being the cause of this incompetence, that person needs to go to jail. If the local mayor was some dingbat like Tito Ortiz who just wants to get a job for his ego, it might be why nothing was done. Who knows if it had to do with the local city council? Maybe. I don't know, because I think I heard something about the local guy or the local person. I'm not sure. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure there's going to be cases coming up, civil cases against either the actual owners of this building, against the city, whoever it is to blame. I'm so upset about the poor animals that were left behind in other parts of the building. Evacuated. I saw an article yesterday about a few cats that were left behind. I hope animal welfare organizations can go in and get them before they starve to death. Yes. Yes. In fact, we were talking about this yesterday or last night, and this morning. It's really sad. It's really sad. This one lady left her poor little emotional support cat. There's a couple of dogs that were left behind too. Another cat named Coco, and God knows how many poor animals in the actual collapse were lost too. If it's Laura, they almost had Laura Loomer in the local government, maybe, but Laura Loomer, I don't know if she had anything to do with Surfside, that's for sure. I'm not sure. There's a lot to be said about Laura Loomer, but I don't know if she had anything to do with Surfside. So, no. Wait, we can actually check this. Hold on. Local politics? Yeah, I think that she had absolutely nothing to do with anything. Yeah. Yeah, she's she ran for like the district that was way north of that, I believe. Yeah. And included Hialeah, Olympia Heights, Cutler Bay. Let's push further into Broward County. Yeah, no, she had absolutely nothing to do with this, I think. Yeah, so unfortunately, there's got to be an investigation on this, and whoever is to blame for this, I think that, you know, somebody somewhere needs to go to jail. That's for sure, or sued out of existence. I mean, how could you not? It's just like astonishing that somebody would look at this and not like and not do anything about it. I mean, again, it all depends, because hindsight is 2020. I'm looking at this from with all the knowledge. Maybe at the time, because as the guy explained, when you really see this, I mean, it looks bad, but it looks bad, but from a layman's perspective, like, it doesn't give you the sense of urgency that you need to do this right now. And I have a feeling that that may have been one of the issues, one of the main issues. I mean, it does say, we look forward to working with you and maintaining the structural integrity of the Champlain Tower South Condominium, but I don't know if the sense of urgency is really there, because there's a whole different, like, there's a difference between saying, like, you know, maybe we should do something about, maybe we should address the problems regarding climate change, and we look forward to maintaining this planet's ecosystems, versus, listen, if you don't start to turn this ship around in terms of climate change, we're gonna have problems with food, we're gonna have problems with water. Coastal cities are going to have incredible losses in terms of, like, not only just like property, but also massive migration patterns. Natural disasters are going to be increasing, which will lead to billions and billions and billions of dollars of loss in human lives as well. All of a sudden, we're going to find ourselves in difficult situations when it comes to trying to grow food, which is going to possibly lead us into more conflicts around the world, and eventually that's going to come home, back home to us. So if we don't solve this problem, this is what X, Y, and Z means, and this is how it's going to affect us. This is what we need to do. That's how you properly, like, I think, relay information, right? You set out your premise and say, climate change is a problem. And then you explain why it's a problem, and you try to explain the severity of it in a responsible manner, right? Because when you read this, like, again, I'm looking at it from hindsight, right? I'm looking at it from already knowing already knowing all of this information. But I guess if you just look at it from a glance. You know, you don't get that sense of urgency, right? Interesting effect of human depopulation is that pets turn savage pretty quickly. As was seen in Chernobyl, is the bigger dogs eat the little dogs and move on to their prey, and not heavily domesticated cats go feral and eat rodents and birds. Oh, well, that's sad. They should be sprinkling words like urgent attention required, imminent risk to property and possible loss of life. Yes. That's right. I mean, the guy explained it in this video that that's not how he necessarily would have worded it, right? Not that it was technically illegal or anything like that, but I mean, you gotta be responsible with the language here. And I think that that's kind of like one of his points here that he was talking about, where he was saying like, look, we would have probably used different language, different words here, because, I mean, well, tidal influx to Florida is irreversible, and the big buildings' foundations will flood and be rubble in 20 years. Also, hurricanes will come further inland as the shore reconfigures. Yes, quite possibly. In decades to come, and then in the next 20 years, we will see that this is going to be a problem. Well, it depends. I mean, listen, if we if we don't change course and we just kind of continue down this path in terms of not doing anything about climate change, the more catastrophic models start to become reality as time progresses, and within 5 years, so, again, this is the on the assumption, given the current data, on the assumption that nothing is done, we have about a 40% chance to just blow past that 1.5 degrees Celsius within 5 years. And then things get really good from there. Things get really spicy after that. Hopefully, at least in the conversation, when you sit them down and walk through the report, you can keep the professional report neutral tone, but explain in person the possible consequences of that information. Yeah, the point being is the responsible relay of information, especially if you're the guy or if you're the person in the position of authority. And by what I mean by authority is that you're the guy that went to school for this. You're the engineer. You're the contractor. You're the whatever, right? Dude, that's quote-unquote theory? What are you talking about? I'm not understanding. So the TLDR of this story is that it's very sad, gross incompetence, and now 100 plus people, God knows how many pets, are dead. Very sad. I don't know, it depends, because a lot of cities, thinking Sabercat that are like in the coasts and stuff like that, they're a lot more democratic. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. Theoretical? What is theoretical? Hey Kvass, how's it going? Yeah, TLDR, this is incredibly sad. Tragic. Tragic, and I hope that whoever is responsible, as the investigations keep going on, whoever's responsible, you know, gets what's coming to them. I ate some ants. I suppose that, depending on said type of ants, I would not recommend it. Alright, so just to lighten the mood up, folks. Just to lighten the mood up. A perception or projection of available data? What are you talking about? Listen, behave, be quiet. You're talking in these like weird abstract generalities, and I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Jail. It has to be jail. Money doesn't talk with these people. Yes, if it ends up being rabid wombat, then yes, jail. I mean, you're right. Seriously, no idea what you're talking about. Anti-marijuana laws are illogical. True. So just to lighten the mood up, I'm going to talk about this. Clarence Thomas, known far left liberal, known far left liberal. Federal laws against marijuana may no longer be necessary. The federal government's current approach in half-in, half-out regime that simultaneously tolerates and forbids local use of marijuana, the conservative Supreme Court justice wrote. Here's an image of how much land could lose just a century. Florida's base map shows an extent. Yeah, we definitely. Thinking Sabercat. When were they ever necessary? They were never necessary, but you know, we're just trying to catch up. All right? We're just trying to catch up. Projected climate change? What are you talking about? This is a study that I'm citing. Wait, do you think I'm just making this up? Do you think that I'm just making this up? Projected climate change? Yeah, the projected time frame of what I'm talking about is based on a study. This isn't something that I'm pulling out of my butt. I'm not sure if that's true, Kvass. I'm not sure if that's true. I'm just asking? Yeah, this came from a study. I'm not just making this stuff up. Here. Actually. Here. Alright, where was it here? Here. This section right here, the World Meteorological Organization's reported in May that the world will hit 1.5 degrees Celsius in the next 5 years. This report is what I'm referencing to. This report says the world may hit 1.5 degrees in the next 5 years. What it actually says in this report, it says that we have a 40 something percent chance that if we do not change course, this will happen. Okay? That's what it is. That's where I'm citing this World Meteorological Organization report. It says we have a possibility of hitting 1.5 degrees Celsius in the next 5 years, about 40-ish%, if we do not change course. That's it. That's it. But Kvass, I don't think that necessarily this is a this has anything in reference to like marijuana. I don't think that necessarily like this original note. I don't think so. Now, do you think are you saying that like these type of drug laws disproportionately affect like people POC? Then yes, that's true. Clarence Thomas, one of Supreme Court's most conservative justices, said Monday because of the hodgepodge of federal policies on marijuana, federal law against it or against its use or cultivation may no longer make sense. Yeah, no kidding. A prohibition on interstate use of cultivation of marijuana may no longer be necessary or proper to support the federal government's piecemeal approach. His view came as the court declined to hear the appeal of a Colorado medical marijuana dispensary that was denied federal tax breaks that other businesses allowed. Thomas said the Supreme Court's ruling in 2005 upholding federal laws making marijuana possession illegal may now be out of date. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. The federal government, federal policies of the past 16 years have greatly undermined its reasoning. The federal government's current approach is a half-in, half-out regime that simultaneously tolerates and forbids local use of marijuana. 36 states now allow medical marijuana, 18 also allow recreational use. But the federal tax law does not allow marijuana businesses to deduct their business expenses. Under this rule, businesses that is still in the red after it pays its workers, keeps the lights on, might nonetheless owe substantial federal income tax. True. The Department of Justice has instructed the nation's federal prosecutors not to pursue cases against marijuana businesses that follow state law, and since 2015, yeah, like, so then what is the point of having this? Like, just legalize it. Holy yikes. In 2015, Congress has prohibited... Like, stop wasting resources on this. This is completely, like, useless. In 2015, Congress has prohibited the Justice Department from spending federal money to prevent states from carrying out its own laws. But the IRS continues to enforce its own rules against growers and dealers. Again, this whole entire, like, disconnect... this whole, disconnect is just, like, beyond frustrating. Just legalize it. The federal government's willingness to look the other way on marijuana is more episodic than coherent. True. True. I think that at this point in time, yeah, legalize marijuana or ban alcohol. Yeah, but none of those things is like, just legalize it, okay? Just legalize, decriminalize all drugs, and take steps necessary to end this drug war, right? That would be it. That would be it. Actually, hemp and bamboo may be a way to slow down climate change as it eats a lot of carbon and grows fast, and the plant has multiple uses. True. True. The problem of all that is because it's used to grow animal feed. Yeah, unfortunately. But no, thinking Sabercat is correct. Hemp has so many applications that we could be using instead of like destroying our forests. And also in terms of, I think even Darknet brought this up, that hemp actually helps with soil integrity. I mean, there's just so many good uses for this. Feds just get away. Feds should just get out of the way, and let states decide. I think it should just be a complete legalization of marijuana and decriminalization of drugs, and use all the wasted resources of the drug war, and just pour it into getting help and getting help. That's it. Perry supposedly sequester more carbon than forests? Interesting. I did not know that. I require coolant or I'll become crazier over time. I don't know what that means. Yeah, just legalize it. Just legalize it. Simple. Just legalize it. Use all the resources that you're wasting on this useless drug war. And pour it back into the communities. I mean, a lot of the states that have... a lot of the states that have legalized it and have, you know, gotten like I don't want to say regulations, but like the state government sets rules, have found a surplus in funding. And guess what? They pour that funding back into education or back into like other social programs, right? Using these this tax money, this tax revenue from the marijuana business. I mean, like, this is all good. There's a breed of Vietnamese bamboo that grows so fast it audibly creaks. Interesting. I wonder if that's the species of bamboo we have outside. Because we have pieces of bamboo outside back there that creak. Hey BPCL, how's it going? That creak outside here. Yeah, so I think that it's time, okay? It's time that we just kind of legalize this. And just end the unnecessary and expensive and useless drug war. Right? When you have people, plants with deep roots sequester the most carbon into the soil, that makes sense. That makes sense. When you have people like Clarence Thomas saying that this is like unnecessary, I mean, like, come on. At this point in time, there's literally no excuse. I mean, some like, and again, Clarence Thomas isn't exactly like any liberal or lefty friendly judge whatsoever. At all. At all. And even he's saying like, dude, this is just like, it's past time that this is that this needs to be changed, right? There's also health issues of the opioid crisis and how it can be curbed with hemp over destructive drugs. I think that like what could happen also is by decriminalizing all of these drugs and legalizing, like, for example, marijuana, is that you can pour a lot of those resources that, again, you would be wasting in this drug war to just simply, you know, help alleviate the opioid crisis. Abolish wars. Well, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. And money? I don't know what we would replace that with. Alright. I'm interested in seeing what this video is about. Last time we had to rag on Kyle a little bit, so let's see what he says.
So we have a new poll that just came out on the media, and this is some stunning stuff here. The United States ranks dead last in media trust at just 29% among 92,000 news consumers surveyed in 46 different countries. That's incredible, guys. So let me give you some more of the numbers. We can go on all day here. I'm not going to give you...
Yes, that's true. Drug legalization also breaks the back of organized crime. Yes, this is true. If you're attempting to address, if you want to be tough on crime, then this would be a step forward. Sometimes it is, K-Bass. That's true. Sometimes it is. You trade the stuff for other stuff? I mean, I suppose that could be a thing. I'm just not sure how, like, efficient or how that would necessarily work on a widespread scale. But I would just start with, like, I would just start with the idea of, like, look, there are alternative systems that we can advocate for and build alongside in parallel. Something that we could propose would be, for example, incentivizing the idea of worker cooperatives, right? Everything has my own dependency. You conservatives didn't have to pay a penny. I'm not sure what that means, but so. And to your point, Kvass, I think that like the vast majority of crime is correlated to poverty. So yeah, I mean, you alleviate that, you can disincentivize that as well. Simple. I'm not saying it's going to take care of all crime, but alleviating poverty, making sure people have food, housing, education, and healthcare are ways to deal with crime. The same thing goes for legalizing and decriminalizing drugs. Does indeed have an impact on these quote-unquote organized crimes, organized criminal organizations.
You everything, but you have the United States is at 29%, the lowest. The highest is Finland, 65%. Portugal's up there as well, 61%. I believe they're the only other one in the 60s. Brazil, 54%. Canada, 45%. Even the UK is 36%. India, 38%. Sort of getting lower by our territory. Greece is 32.
I mean, that's still
Mexico
not...
is 37.
I don't know. It seems to me like the media has like not a good standing.
I think the closest one to us was France at 30%. We're at 29%. They're at 30%. So they go on to, expound more on this, and they say that generally speaking, the right is more distrusting of the media than the left, although there is also left-wing distrust as well. When they ask people what specific part of the news do they trust the most, this is hilarious. People said...
Yeah, I think even police would agree they'd rather be investigating crimes of malice rather than crimes of desperation. I don't know, I mean...
The weather. That's like the only news that people find trustworthy is like weather news. And that's 62% believe that. So the biggest problem is that people feel, and this is across demographic groups, whether it's people on the right, who are overwhelmingly, by the way, more white and male, they feel like they're condescended to and talked down to. But then you also have minority groups, women, people of color. They also say that we're not represented and we feel talked down to as well. So there's this condescension problem, this problem where the media is viewed as insular and elitist. And you want to know why it's viewed that way? Because the media is insular and elitist. That's why it's viewed that way.
I mean,
how many people in mainstream media talk like I do? I don't mean like slight New York accent. No, I mean like how many people just talk like a regular person? Talk like somebody you could be shooting the shit with at a bar. How many? Are there any? So, I know this sounds silly, right? But this is what people feel. There's an insularity problem. There's an elitism problem. People don't feel like they're being represented by any of the viewpoints or any of the talking heads. And that's understandable. So, as a result of this, a lot of people are now avoiding news altogether. They're just done with news. And naturally, big media is trusted the least, and some local media is trusted more. Although I think there's a difference between print and TV. But big media is the least trusted. So, I mean, here we are. 29% trust in the media. And listen, you wonder why. Well, how could you get the rise of somebody like Trump? Well, because the institutions were just as despised, if not more despised than Trump. So anybody...
Hey, Benjamin P. Dixon Show, rating with a party of 55. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. How's it going, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Good morning from Like It or Not. Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Howdy, howdy. For those of you that don't know, we are A Difficult Truth. We do news and politics from Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to about 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Usually I go up to about 11:20-ish a.m. And we do Saturdays from noon Eastern Time for a couple of hours. Play some video games, hang out with you guys. Yes, generally speaking, we do news and politics here. Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate that. If you guys don't already know, yes, that's right, Jammed. Thank you. If you guys don't already know or follow, please hit that follow button on the Benjamin P. Dixon Show. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do. Hollywood 2000, thank you for the follow. I I appreciate that. And cancel underscore this for the offline follow. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. The media is used as a propaganda tool for decades, and people end up not trusting it. Wow, surprise Pikachu face. True. If more people watch A Difficult Truth, trust in the media would go up. True. Also 100% true. 1000% true.
Somebody who comes up and is sort of an arrogant asshole and just calls bullshit on everything and says everything's dumb and these guys are all liars and frauds, people are like, I mean, that's kind of true, isn't it? I mean, the institutions are shit. They're not representing me. These people are liars. These people are frauds. Now, just of course, happened to be the case that Trump was a liar and fraud as well. But he duped a lot of people. You know, and there's a lot of blame to go around. You could blame people have agency and they make their own decisions. So yes, you blame them as individuals, but you also got to blame the system.
Thank you, Jammed.
I
appreciate that.
Ripe scenario for a con man like Trump to exploit it, and you should. I mean, when your so-called fact checks are gratuitous or asinine or dumb or on issues that shouldn't be on, when you're hypercritical in ways you perhaps shouldn't be, and you don't talk about the substantive stuff, people just tune you out or they dislike you. And there is a sense of like, you know, this elite media club, they just love the smell of their own farts. And they love to,
thank you.
They love being
Appreciate
part of the
that.
group, but nobody fucking likes the group. Nobody likes you guys, man. CNN and MSNBC have hideous ratings. Fox News is a slightly different scenario. Their audience is older. Their audience are more generally TV watchers anyway, whereas younger people are more online. But they're all part of their own club, whether it's the Republican club or the Democratic club or the establishment club overall.
Look, I agree with the general premise of this video. However, sorry, Kyle, for this pause. Sorry, but this was a great pause face. But what do we do about it? All right.
People feel like it's all bullshit. And I'm telling you, media is an area where people fail up all the time. Look at the number of people who are on TV today who were for the Iraq War. Almost all of them who were for the Iraq War are still on. The one who was against it, Phil Donahue, is off the air. He was kicked off the air. You know, when you look at, for example, CNBC, the financial news, which is supposed to be more serious, if you look at the lead up to the Great Recession, they had the CEOs on of the companies that were imploding and going bankrupt, and the CEOs were like, everything's fine, don't worry, keep giving us your money. This is what they do. This is what they do. They're just a network to rep the interests of the billionaires and the corporations. That's it. They're not giving news and information. They're doing propaganda. MSNBC does propaganda for the Democratic establishment.
I think that distrust of the media is a good thing. We shouldn't just accept information uncritically. The question is how we materialize that distrust in action and if it results in positive outcomes for us. Yeah, I mean, like, I get the idea of that. And of course, you know, it just because it's on the news doesn't mean it's 100% true or doesn't have a spin on it, right? I mean, you're looking at... everybody has an internal or some type of bias, right? You're right now, you're seeing things from a more like lefty progressive kind of deal, right? That's what you're seeing here, right? This is just my perspective, my opinions based on what I see and how I view the world, right? But that doesn't mean I can't be wrong, and that doesn't mean sometimes, you know, I get things wrong. That being said, Rabid Wombat, you are correct in that we shouldn't just accept information for the sake of accepting information uncritically. That is true, and I completely agree with you. Big Buddha, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it.
Fox News does it for the Republican establishment. CNBC does it for the financial elites. They all do it for the establishment writ large. Of course people don't fucking like it. Of course they don't like it. I'm surprised it's as high as 29%. Who the fuck are the 29% who like it? You know? So, and the problem is, on the right at least, the problem is, they know the media is full of shit, but then they turn to people who are even bigger liars and bigger charlatans, like Newsmax and One American News Network. You know? So it's like, the problem breeds an even bigger problem.
Yes, I agree with that too. Now here's the thing, thinking Sabercat, I think that the underlying problems is that, unfortunately, a lot of these companies, first of all, the reality is there's only like, 6 of them? Second of all, their incentive is what gets the most sensational stories because they depend on advertisers, which depend on clicks. So of course, it's going to exacerbate that problem.
God damn it. I mean, again, it's really sad that you guys feel like you have to come to an idiot loudmouth YouTuber like myself to get anything remotely resembling honesty and truth. That's not to say that this show is great. It's to say they're so bad that people are like, I don't know, that YouTuber who makes fart noises with his mouth seems like he's honest and he tells the truth about shit. Oh, is that where we are as a nation? The answer is yes. That's where we are as a nation. And this stuff needs to change, man. And it needs to change now.
Okay, but what do we do about it? Okay. Like, look, I get the idea. And I get the problems with, like, okay, and this kind of, like, goes into, like, other issues when we're trying to actually, as a media, when we're trying to actually talk about real things, like, hey, you know what? You need to be wearing masks because of X, Y, and Z, or you need to be, or the vaccine that came out this other week is good because of X, Y, or Z. This 29% suddenly becomes a problem when we're trying to talk about, like, objective, like, facts. So here's my prescription to the solutions of this. And I know it's gonna sound simple, but hey, how about you just tell the truth? I know it's like shocking, but how about, like, as a news outlet or as a media organization, have some, like, modicum of responsibility and understand that what you say and how you say it matters. Just saying. Not gonna lie, I find Kyle pretty sus. I see a Jimmy Dore style arc in his future. Oh no. Yeah, like, this is about the third secular talk video I've seen in a while, because I stopped, like, watching a lot of like these political commentators, just so that, like, just because, like, I think that I need to kind of, like, find my own center as well in terms of, like, how I think about the world and what I feel is good, and grind my axioms, so to speak. Grind my axioms in terms of what I believe, and slowly but surely, like, this is what it's culminated into, right? It's culminated into the idea that, first of all, democracy, good. I want to expand democracy. I think freedom is good. I think that people, in order for people to have these things, I think food, housing, education, and healthcare are the basis of how a society, or how a country as rich as ours, as resourceful as ours, should lay the groundwork for that, right? I think that anywhere that's feasible, we should expand democracy. And I think that all of these culminate on these four kind of pillars, as I call them, the four pillars, which people, ideally in my world, should have these things, right? This is why I talk about universal healthcare at college and things like this, right? We should move to incentivize public education, free public education. That could come in many different forms. Trade schools are also a good thing. All of these things, right? I find Colbert and Seth Meyers my two news sources, mainly because they don't sensationalize and are at least funny to me. Yeah, but they're like, but the thing is, like, these guys are, at the end of the day, talking heads, right? They're not news anchors per se, right? Door's probably farther left. I have no idea. I just know that Door's pretty cringe. As far as YouTube goes, my favorite is David Pakman, as he stays 100% professional. I mean, even David Pakman, I think, like, oh god, he's usually very rational, and he usually lays out his stuff in a very calm and milquetoast way. I just think that I'm sorry, but he does a little bit too much Donald Trump coverage. I'm sorry. Democracy Now is actually pretty good. I think that I like watching their like headlines. I like watching their headlines. Like their quick, like, headlines. They're good for, like, international news. Hey, K-How, how's it going? I say hedonism and happiness really should be the drive of Western society. The sadness and frustration is really why people are angry all the time. I think that the reason why people are mad, frustrated, sad, and angry is because they're seeing that the system isn't necessarily fair, right? Isn't necessarily fair. There isn't a thing called equal opportunity. It just doesn't exist. Not in the same way that we ideally would like it. They see these things happen in front of their face. I mean, like, imagine you are on the cusp of losing everything, and then you see a headline saying that people like Jeff Bezos increased their wealth by $1 kajillion. I mean, how are you supposed to feel? Like, you know, how are the people that are perpetually treading water because of student debt with the intent of trying to better themselves, getting into student debt to try to get themselves up, and are treading water for God knows how long in tens of thousands of student debt? How are those people supposed to feel? How are the people who are, and this still like amazes me that such a thing as medical debt even exists, are treading water sometimes for the rest of their lives because of a medical thing that they had absolutely no bearing on? I mean, I don't know. Pac-Man's politics suck, but I like his deadpan humor. True. I'll take that. Spill the tea. Nah, I just feel like sometimes, and this is just watching like David Pac-Man's thumbnails. I feel like sometimes like he just kind of has a weird, like, almost borderline like obsessive coverage of Trump. I don't know. I watch a variety of left-wing commentators. I'm at a place where I feel even the ones I slightly disagree with have valuable... Oh yeah, no, I'm not taking anything away from some points that some of these people make. Absolutely not. Like, I still watch them. In terms of like whenever I catch them. I noticed a disturbing pattern where the left just cancels every streamer every other week. That is also true. To a degree, KTS Shine, yes. A good couple of independent Canadian news sources. Is anyone interested? APTN, Canada Land, and Rabble. Nice. Medical bankruptcy is the most frightening. How someone can get stuck. Can get struck down with cancer, losing everything. I find is insane. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the reason why people get angry, and this is why people get angry. Howdy, howdy. What are we doing? News and politics. I mean, this is all very online and Twitch stuff. Don't let yourself think that that's all the left is. That's true. There's been a pandemic the past year, so it can seem like it. No, I understand. Like, yeah, I understand. I'm in Canada, and it's chilling just to think that the healthcare I've accessed this year alone would have been the difference between my son going to college or not. Yeah, no wonder. And like, to thinking Sabercat's point, like, no wonder people are angry. Are you from India? Because you seem to. No. And so what? Wait, what does that have to do with anything? Alright, chat. We've got some stuff to go through. Let's see if we can get through it.
I supported Donald Trump all...
I wasn't critiquing you, just giving my opinion on streamers. Listen, you can criticize me. I don't mind. Silly question. If the heat dome gets to you, will you be joining the Twitch pool streamers? Probably.
Through his presidency, even though I am Constitution Party, because I saw Trump doing some very good things for this country and successfully pushing back a lot of Democrat foolishness. But Trump made a huge blunder when he failed to prosecute the swamp. Not one dirty bureaucrat was arrested and charged. Not one single indictment. Not one single arrest. And don't give me any nonsense about his hands being tied. Major felony corruption cases have been pending for years, and all Trump had to do was order the indictments to be filed and the arrest warrants to be executed. But he didn't. And look at the mess we're in
This is
today.
QAnon? No.
Trump's top priority from day one should have been arresting the big-time swamp rats, starting with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Handcuffs, booking photos, and criminal court, not those silly do-nothing congressional hearings. When Trump debated Hillary Clinton,
So, okay, so this guy's mad because he didn't, like, prosecute political opponents.
he told her that if he was president, she would be in jail. I took that to be a campaign promise. The American people have completely lost faith in their government because of the ongoing and ever-increasing criminality of Washington, D.C.
Who's we? Who's the American people?
Now let's give Trump the benefit of the doubt and say that he was waiting for his second term to arrest the swamp rats. But we all know how that turned out. And I guarantee you that the Republican Party will never prosecute the swamp rats. They've had 20 years to take action.
Mr. Hat Guy? I wonder why? Has it ever occurred to you to ask why? Just don't drop your equipment into the hot tub?
Without justice in Washington,
True.
D.C., this nation will not survive. And that is why I am Constitution Party, the only political party that still stands for liberty and justice for all, including the biggest, meanest swamp rats out there. You can keep voting Republican, and you will keep getting exactly what you've been getting. Look around you. Look at Washington, D.C., the White House, the Congress, the FBI. If you're happy with what we now have, then by all means, keep voting Republican. But if you have finally awakened from the Republican-induced stupor and see that they are taking America over the cliff, then walk away from the swamp rat supporters and join the Constitution Party. And together, we'll go hunt some swamp rats. This is Wild Bill for America. Thank you for watching, and America bless God again.
Amazing. Everybody who is conservative leading in Florida should listen to this guy and vote for this guy. Just saying. That's it, I'm voting for this guy. True. You know what? He makes a great point. I think that they should... you know what? This is a great point. This guy knows what he's talking about. I think all the Republicans in Florida should absolutely be listening to this guy and vote for the Constitutional Party. You know what? He's right. He's 100% right. Okay. All right, so we have to talk about this just briefly. I must turn to lurk and do some therapy, but I would listen because this is great. No, thank you for hanging out. I appreciate that. To be fair, I can see why Trump supporters would be upset. He never deeply investigated the Clintons. It's almost like all the stuff that he did was one giant con. He's pretty clear in targeting the people he lumped in with them, portraying them as ringleaders. Yeah. I mean, that was part of his campaign thing, but, you know, much like everything, it was one good, excellent, well-deployed con job. Shock polls show the abortion crowd way out of the mainstream. Most Americans want to stop abortion at key benchmark. Okay, so we gotta talk about this really quickly. A new poll, by the way, this is one new poll, so this isn't the aggregate or like anything to necessarily be like, oh yeah, everybody believes this, but, you know, nonetheless. A new poll shows the majority of Americans believe most abortions should be legal in the first 3 months of a woman's pregnancy. At the same time, though, even more Americans say it should be legal to end an unborn baby's life in the second and third trimesters. So, just to get this one out of the way, nobody is having abortions at the third trimester unless there's some serious health complications, or like the mother's life is in danger, or like the fetus had some issue where at that point, like it needs to at that point be aborted because of unviability, or, you know, whatever. Anybody who's at the third trimester can be safely assumed that they want the baby. Like, who this idea that people are having these like in mass abortions at the third trimester is absolutely ludicrous. That's right, Sparrowhawk. He's trying to advertise a big option, but he has a toadstool. Huh? I'm not sure what that means. The poll comes weeks after the Supreme Court agreed to hear a case involving a Mississippi law that would ban abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, 2 weeks into the second trimester. That's another great point. I wonder if they only polled women, right? Like, wait. How could you make this poll across the board? Like, so the idea then is that somehow men have a voice in what a woman does with her body? Like, this is like unbelievably, I don't know if dishonest, but this is unbelievably an unfair and I guess inaccurate assessment of how this needs to be conducted. Now, if you tell me that it is 65% of women, that would be a different story. Actually, if you read the Fire and Fury, no one in Trump clique was prepared for Donald Trump to win, and they lost millions because of it. Yeah, they bet against him. Do we want gender people's participation in law? I'm not sure what that means. The third trimester, the baby is 85% viable, so why would women have such late abortions? Because it doesn't happen. Present me with logic. Unless there's some serious threat to the woman's life, or there's some like medical emergency that they need to do this right now, it just doesn't happen. Present me with logic. The Mississippi case does not directly challenge the legal right to an abortion, but could lay the groundwork for more restrictions. And if Roe v. Wade is overturned, abortion would then become a state issue, which is the entire point. I think the entire point of challenging this is to make sure that if they are able to make it so that abortion is an individual state's like decision, then all of these states will then start deploying their incredibly restrictive laws, right? And just start banning outright abortions. I mean, a lot of these states already have those laws queued up in the event that ever should this be overturned. Like, if someone isn't part of a group, they can't weigh in or vote regarding a particular subject. No, that's not what we're saying. I'm a guy, and I'm making opinions. Right? I'm not telling anybody what to do in terms of their body. That's the difference here. The poll here is to get an idea of what people think in terms of like abortion, but this only affects women, right? So I don't know. So then should you even be commenting on abortion? I could have an opinion, but I'm not gonna say like, oh yeah, absolutely women should never do what. That's not my that's not my prerogative. Like it may or may not be taken into consideration, but the reality is, at the end of the day, the whole point of this really silly argument is to determine whether or not women have more rights. Right? And whether or not a woman has the right to choose. Whether or not you want to control women. That's it. Right? I refuse to have children and should have been aborted. Do they realize that the seed planting by cutting me out will become the next god? True. I can't see why you're critical of them, including men in the poll, because, again, I don't know why you would have a poll in terms of that. It's separate if somebody's like saying like, oh yeah, I believe that abortion should be completely legal. Okay. That's just one bobblehead on the internet. I'm not like making any assertions, right? The poll from the Associated Press and ORC Public Affairs research found that 61% of Americans say abortion should be legal in most and all circumstances in the first trimester of pregnancy. However, 65% said abortion should be illegal in the second trimester, and 80% said at about the third trimester. I mean, like, again, nobody's doing this. Still, the poll finds that some Americans believe that abortion of an unborn baby should be allowable under at least some circumstances, even during the second. Yeah, this is the whole thing about women's bodily autonomy. I have a big magnet on my truck of an elephant sticking a chunk of its... Oh no. Michael New, a pro-life advocate who teaches social research at the Catholic University of America, predicted the findings regarding second and third trimesters would be useful in the pro-life movement. So, just to be clear, this is not like any type of pro-life movement at all. This helps counter the narrative that abortion policy outcome established by Roe v. Wade decision enjoys substantial public support. So I guess they're going to use this as evidence as to why we should overturn this? I mean, I don't know. The fact that we even have to, like, have this debate is beyond me. The fact that we're even having this debate is beyond me. I mean, it's just simple. A woman has bodily autonomy. Okay? End argument. Period. I don't... What else do you want me to say about this? If you do not believe in abortions, if you do not want to, if you do not believe in abortions, if you have moral objections to abortions, here's a hot take. Don't have one? I can't. I don't understand, like, what the concept is here. Right, that's what I say. Exactly. Like, if you have some really like moral objection that you have, just don't have. That's the whole point of the pro-choice argument. You choose. Stop trying to legislate this. If a baby cannot survive outside its host, it's really not alive. Right, at the end of the day, Brad Crochet, that's really what it is. Unironically, unironically, that's what it is. That's true, Memius. I don't trust this website. It's CBN. Howdy, howdy. But however, I think that, like, this is just simple. This is just simple, folks. Very simple. A woman has a right to choose. A woman has bodily autonomy. That's it. That's it. You think that men should be able to give up their parental rights and obligation before the fetus is delivered? I don't know what that means. So if that's like an idea, then I think that at that point, then hey, listen, the moment of conception, child support is due. Let's go. Child support is due at the moment of conception. Oh, wait, hold on. CBN is Christian Broadcasting? Maybe I have this incorrect. Maybe I thought this was like one of the mainstream, Oh, shoot, I didn't even fact check myself. Holy yikes. This is horrible. Anyways. Yikes. I thought this was CBS. Oh man, what a bad What a bad one, folks. What a bad one. Sorry, this is not exactly a credible source. Yeah, does not equal CBS. Yeah, okay, sorry. Fake news. We can move on. We almost got into, like, an argument here where there never really was one. Good point, Heath. Thank you for pointing that out. I was here thinking, like, CBS. So it's a child at conception? No, I'm saying that if you have, like, already, like, if you're starting to, like, assume that, then we're going down some weird rabbit holes. Alphin Pogform, thank you for the follow. Holy yikes, I almost got into some horrible... does that make a good point to back our previous topic about news and distrust of it? There are clearly biased actors out there. Yeah, but this isn't news. This isn't news. This isn't news, Rabbit Wombat. This is a Christian organization, my bad. Right, but they do present themselves as such, that's true. The easiest way to make men understand how you would feel is to see them in one of your testicles if they wanted to, as they wanted them as a type of record. Right, or like, gay how dows with the 10 biddies, thank you. Or the idea that if we start saying that all men need to be mandated with vasectomies, then people would be like uptight about that, because like it turns out maybe you shouldn't legislate people's bodies in any way, shape, or form. Like, holy yikes. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's it's just as simple as that. I slept late, but I was reading through that last night. Thank you. Good catch, because I was actually tricked. But yeah, so the TLDR of this entire argument is simple. It's not trying to legislate people's bodies. If tomorrow I want to like tattoo my entire body from head to toe, nobody should be able to stop me from that. If tomorrow I wanted to like get like 10,000 piercings, nobody should stop me from doing that. So why are we legislating the ability for a woman to choose what she can and cannot do with her body? It just blows my mind that we are in 2021 having these discussions, right? Because some backward groups, some backward Christian organizations want to peddle this nonsense. You should get a face tat. Should I put like Trump across my forehead? I think that would be a great idea. Yeah, because they're anti-science and we're being stuck in the Middle Ages because of some like loud minority, some loud Christian evangelical minorities making a brouhaha about how women shouldn't be allowed to choose what they do. It just blows my mind.
Ron DeSantis by far is one of the worst governors in the United States, and all of the things that I find irredeemable about him, like that's precisely why he's becoming a rising star within the Republican Party.
Yes, but we need to make sure that when we discuss these things, we need to have like the reasoning behind it, right?
Like he had one of the worst COVID responses where he actually banned local governments from issuing mask mandates. And because of that, like Republicans are citing his response as something to be celebrated. But he has another law, you know, this is after the law where he basically made it easier to legally run over protesters, where you're going to react like he's reacting in this photograph. Your mouth should hit the floor if you actually know in any way how this could be implemented in a very, very negative way. I mean, right now, you might read this law and think, okay, this doesn't necessarily seem like that big of a deal. It's relatively inoffensive, albeit unnecessary. But the way that this law that he just signed into law can be used is it's Orwellian, to put it lightly. So as Julia Conley of Common Dreams explains, Democratic lawmakers and educators nationwide are expressing alarm over legislation signed this week by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, which is us.
And here is what I'll say about this, because like I think that the Bible advocates for abortion, just throwing that out there. Yeah, but like they only care about the specific sections of the Bible that they want to perpetuate. The Daily Mail during the 1990s actually suggested unemployed being sterilized. What? And later suggests that people having to apply a license to have children, like a driver's license, to see if you're a good parent. What the heck? Was this real during a... Holy yikes. Holy eugenics, Batman. A pregnant woman who is injured and aborts the fetus warrants financial compensation only to her husband, suggesting that the fetus is property, not a person. Exodus chapter 21, verse 22 to 25. Huh. Interesting. So here, I know that this is a little bit. I think that this entire thing is unnecessary. HB 233, but I don't think that the bill says what people think it says, right? Because we actually have it here. The State Board of Education shall select or create objective, nonpartisan, statistically valid survey to be used by institutions, to be used by each institution which it considers to the extent to which competing ideas and perspectives are presented, and members of the college community and students, faculty, and staff feel free. So, like, basically, the survey is to attempt somehow weird to categorize whether or not students, faculty, and staff are feeling free to express their beliefs and viewpoints on campus and in the classroom. And I'm not sure what this is going to be used for, but it seems to me like, I mean, like, what exactly do you plan to do with this data? Doesn't say. But it just feels like it's creating solutions to problems that don't exist. I don't understand why we would need to be focusing on any of this. The State Board of Education shall select or create objective. Yes. Here it is. The State Board shall require each Florida college institution to conduct an annual assessment on the intellectual freedom and viewpoint diversity at each institution. So how do you feel? Do you feel free to express yourself? What? Oh my god, this is so sad. Hold on, folks. Actually, Talmudic law says babies don't have souls till there's a sound. So, wait. Till there's a year old, which sounds weird until you realize infant mentality in the Iron Age. Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Intellectual freedom and viewpoint diversity assessment. The purpose of this subsection, the term intellectual freedom and viewpoint diversity means the exposure of students, faculty, and staff, and the encouragement of their exploration of a variety of ideological and political perspectives. Shield means limit students, faculty members, or staff members access to or observation of ideas or opinions that they may find uncomfortable, unwelcome, disagreeable, or offensive. Oh, is that a problem in Florida? I don't know. The Board of Governors shall require each state and university to conduct an annual assessment on the intellectual freedom and viewpoint diversity at that institution. The Board of Governors shall select or create an objective, nonpartisan, and statistically valid survey to be used each state, university which considers the extent to which competing ideas and perspective are presented, and members of the university community, including students, faculty, and staff, feel free to express their beliefs and viewpoints on campus and in the classroom. The Board of Governors shall annually compile and publish the assessments by September of each year, beginning on September 1 of 2022. So what is the point? Like, I feel like, honestly, the more I read this, the more I think that this guy is just trying to create, like, safe spaces for, like, conservative viewpoints. The Board of Governors may not shield students, faculties, or state staff from free speech protected under the First Amendment. Oh, okay. That's protected under the First Amendment. We have a constitutional amendment for that. Section 3, blah, 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 blah. Definitions, right to free speech. Good thing we already have that. Expressive activities protected under the First Amendment. Under the Constitution, and Article 1 of the state constitution includes, but are not limited to, any lawful or written communication of ideas, including all forms of peaceful assembly, protest speeches, and distributing literature, carrying signs, and circulating petitions. So, okay. It's not giving your wife a mixture of holy water and church dust if you think she's cheating on you. Wait, what? If she was unfaithful, God will then abort her baby. Holy yikes. So I think the problem here is really that I'm not sure. I think that this is more political grandstanding. I mean, like, we have the First Amendment. Like, why would you think that? Okay.
Ostensibly aimed at ensuring college students and educators in the state feel permitted to express a variety of political views, and which critics say could end up punishing professors whose opinions don't line up with those of the state's right-wing leaders. DeSantis on Tuesday signed House Bill 233 into law, requiring more than 36 public colleges and universities in Florida to...
But that also will be unconstitutional. But that also would be unconstitutional. Like, you can't fire people over, like, the incorrect political belief, right? It sounds like Benjamin types who wants to see the and not be failed.
Conduct yearly surveys of their students and faculty members' beliefs to determine the institution's level of intellectual freedom and viewpoint diversity.
Right. The problem here is, what are they planning to do with this data, and why does it matter?
Yeah. The law is vague regarding how state authorities can proceed if a university is found to be insufficiently welcoming to certain viewpoints.
And what does that mean? Because it does state it here in HB 233. Exactly that, but, like, what does this mean? And what is the purpose of this being necessary, right? What is the purpose of this being necessary, right? Are they just, like, wanting to create, like, safe spaces for, like, these underrepresented ideologies, whatever that means? I don't know. Do they want to do, like, affirmative action for, like, I don't know, conservatism? What is exactly the point of this, and how will this be deployed? Because it doesn't tell you in any of these. Look, I'll even link. Guys, don't even take my word for it, alright? Listen, don't take my word for it. Don't take Mike's word for it. Just look at the bill right here. The bill's right there.
State Representative Spencer Roach, a Republican who sponsored the bill in the House, told the Chronicle of Higher Education the survey results, quote, could shape whatever action a university president may want to take or whatever action a future legislative body may want to take. At a news conference...
Right, so, like, exactly, like, what does that mean? Does that mean that now, like, public universities or colleges have to, like, adjust because X viewpoint isn't being represented enough? I don't understand.
conference on Tuesday, DeSantis said his government could intervene if it finds universities to be hotbeds for stale
Yeah, that's
ideology
right.
without specifying what that ideology might be and suggesting funding cuts could ensue. That's not worth tax dollars and not something we're going to be supporting.
Wait, so he's threatening to defund like public institutions who don't have like a quote unquote diverse is this like affirmative act? Like this is isn't this the entire like thing that they were fighting against? I don't know. Seems kind of weird.
Moving forward, the governor said, the law does not ensure that surveys will be taken anonymously, raising concerns that faculty members could also raise retaliation if they express progressive views or
maybe. But the point being is like the survey is about how whether or not you feel comfortable of expressing your ideas. I don't know if that means that they're going to ask you specifically what you want, what type of ideology you have. But this is unnecessary, I think, is my TLDR of this, because we're running out of time. Hey guys, I love you. Thank you, Big Dangly Thanks. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. So I don't know what that means.
share that they would not welcome certain viewpoints, for example, discriminatory or abusive comments directed at a...
So what Governor DeSantis said is like pretty disturbing in and of itself, saying that, you know, he might cut funding based on not having a diverse whatever. I don't know what that means. It'll probably be used to target people with more radical political views, possibly. I have no idea. The problem with this is it seems to be fixing a problem that necessarily I don't know exists, because I've never seen like explicitly like I don't know. Yeah, everybody should just claim to be a centrist. Easy clap. There you go. Everybody, just put that you're a centrist. Yeah, thinking Sabercat. This is written with like crayon and or on a napkin.
A student in their classrooms. Under the law, students will also be permitted to record professors without their consent in connection with the complaint, according to the Chronicle. Now, there's so much to say about this. First of all, I just gotta point out that it's ironic that he says that he wants to defund universities if they are hotbeds of stale ideology. You mean like the ideologies that you subscribe to?
I wonder if this is going to be like... I wonder if that also will defund universities that have an overwhelming conservative majority. Because that's not a diverse view, and that's not a diverse environment. So would he then cut funding for those public institutions that are found to be like overwhelming conservative? I have no idea. I don't know. It seems unnecessary. But he's doing the thing, though. Oh my god, this is so sad. This is so sad. Pet owners desperate over their missing animals in Florida, and the Florida tower collapse. Stop it. How could you, like, me and my girlfriend just sent me this. We were talking about this earlier. I mean, how could you leave your emotional support animal? How could you leave your kitty cat? This is so heartbreaking. That might be true, Redmond. I think you know the answer. Yeah, it was a rhetorical question. It was a rhetorical question. I wonder if Governor DeSantis would defund public institutions if they are majority conservative. This is so sad. This is heartbreaking. Poor little Coco. So sad. Wait, what? Yikes. I had to evacuate my apartment around midnight because our neighbor started his kitchen on fire? Jesus Christ. Kami jihadist? That's weird. That's a oxymoron. It seems as silly as the North Carolina local government wasting $3.5 million on putting through legislation preventing Sharia law at the same time, and at the time the Muslim population of North Carolina was 0.03% of the state. Yeah, great job, guys. You did it. You did it. Excellent job. Excellent job, North Carolina. Right, that's my point, thinking Sabercat. I think it's like, I don't know, he's poised to run, and I think this is all just building up his profile. That's it. Alright, folks, unfortunately I do gotta get going. It's about to be 11:30. I appreciate all of you guys being here. You guys are what makes this show go, and we can't do this without you guys. All your support is much appreciated. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the follows. Thank you, Benjamin P. Dixon, for the raid. I appreciate that. We're here tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Thursday, doing the news and politics, Saturday, Catterdays. As always, if you guys enjoy the content, make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you do the YouTubes, and join the Discord, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the YouTubes, and spread the word that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics. Peace and the long life. Your sound clip game is getting good. Thank you. Thank you for hanging out, Heat. I appreciate that. Have a good day. You have a good day. Thank you guys so much as always. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next stream. See ya! Alright, hang with me, folks. Let's see who we're going to. Let's see if, I think Ben is doing a, charity thing. I think. No, I don't see him. Alright, we're doing touring news. Alright, folks. Hang with us. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Yes, so many hearts.